Hi, freaks, and welcome. My name is Matt, and welcome to another episode of the Horror Movie Freaks. Joining me tonight is the lovely Sue. How are we, Sue?
I'm very good. I'm tired, actually, today. I don't know why I said very good. I'm good, but I'm tired.
Can you be good and tired at the same time?
I think so. Okay. Yeah. A little sleepy, but, I'm feeling okay.
Oh, good. And also joining us in his matching tank top to Sue is Nathan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I didn't realize that there was a dress code today to show you. Is it decolletage?
Exactly.
Oh.
The clottage or the clavage?
Oh, the Gingers Anonymous will be like pausing that bit and putting it on a loop.
There's going to be screenshots everywhere of that now.
Yes.
Enjoy.
It's all over Twitter. So, Sue, have you got a drink tonight? Is it your usual coffee in a different coffee cup?
It is coffee.
Oh, we've got a classic one.
I don't know if you guys remember this cup.
I do. It's the classic Sue.
It's been to everywhere, like Sydney and Byron Bay and Thredbo and England.
Wow.
And now it's here. And I still use it all the time.
That would be over like, what, 25 years?
Yes.
More than that?
Now I'm so paranoid that it's going to break because it's lived this long that now it's turned into something quite precious,
Yeah.
So now every time I use it, I'm like, oh, the cup, don't let anyone near it. The cats jump up and I'm like, get down.
Yeah, that's scary. And Nathan, have you got a drink? What are you drinking
tonight?
I
do. G&T here.
Oh, it's nearly finished. The show's only begun.
There's poor planning. What have you got there?
Shaken, not stirred.
Prepared earlier?
My martini, yes. A gin martini, yes. Shaken, not stirred. Actually, normally it's stirred, but tonight it was actually shaken. So, shall we get into it? We digress.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the last. It says we've got the wrong date on there, which is the 23rd of December. This was the date that it was meant to go live, but we did have some technical issues. This is the second time we've actually filmed this, full disclosure. So we've reviewed the first two Nightmare on Elm Streets, Nightmare on Elm Street and Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy's Revenge. And tonight it's Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. So yeah, this brings... I think this is the last of our box set, but the first of the Dream films in Nightmare on Elm Street. So eventually we'll get hopefully to all of the other Nightmare on Elm Streets, but this does wrap up the Nightmare on Elm Streets that we'll be reviewing for now. And it's also the first of 2022. I don't know if that's significant, but there we go. Where was that, Sue?
I used to sound so futuristic.
2022, I know. Now it's like, wow, we're here.
2020. So
anything with a 20 in it is not good.
It's not panning out so well, is it really?
No.
The only way is up, as Yaz would say.
That is what Yaz would say. Thank you.
I'm going to quote the great poet.
Yes, we've been broken down. Been on the bottom line, but sure, had some fun. Oh my god, this has taken a turn. And we've got someone in the chat. Thank you to Renee for noticing my new shirt. So yes, my lovely brother-in-law got me this for Christmas, which I'm sure we'll have available on our store, our non-existent store, before you know it.
I hope so.
So should we get into the film and have a look at the trailer?
I think we should.
Trying to kill you. He wears a dirty brown has razors on his right hand. Man of my dreams. He's real, isn't he? He's real. Let go of him, you bastard. Oh my God.
Still, you have it.
Okay. So, what do you reckon? It's so 80s, like, it's got the, quintessential 80s look. So
Which
we're
I love.
ready. Let's go through the stats. So the 27th of August, 1987 is when it was released, directed by Chuck Russell. With a budget of 4.3 million, it made 44.8 million US at the box office.
Keep going.
Not too bad. IMDb, it's currently sitting at 6.6, and Rotten Tomatoes, it's 72% fresh or rotten.
That's
Fresh, I think it is.
fresh. I think it's like under 50 is rotten, right?
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Sue, for the statistician. But yeah, that's pretty good for a horror, 72%.
Yeah. It's quite beloved, I've noticed. Like, you can't bring up the first one without people going, oh, and part 3 is, just as great. Like, people bring it up a lot, more than you would expect a sequel to be brought up.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's it kind of goes hand in hand with the first one, and you just sort of skip over the second one. The second one's kind of like a true bad nightmare.
Yeah. It was a lot more inventive, this one. So a lot more memorable for all the right reasons.
Exactly. So this is one of your favorites. I think you probably watched it 50 billion times, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it was a pretty seminal film for me when I saw it. Like, it really did influence. I started drinking coffee because of this film. Like, I remember forcing myself to drink black coffee after watching this movie and really going, no, I like it.
Oh my God, this film has a lot to answer for.
I know. And building that paper mache house.
That's what I was going to
that.
say. I noticed that in the trailer that the paper mache house that you replicated is in there.
I did.
It does make me think of your small flat in Unley that was taken up by had a valuable real estate taken up by the paper mache house.
Yes, and then I think I eventually gave it to my niece after like years and years, and then it sort of disappears into halls
The
of
ether.
history. I don't know what happened to
Yeah.
it after that.
When you probably don't want to know what happened.
I probably don't. She probably had some drunken party and set fire to it or something like that. Something really tragic. Kind of appropriate too, if that had happened.
Yeah. Yeah. What a fitting
Like,
end.
that's
Something
what
you couldn't do yourself, but if someone else did it, well.
Right? I'd be like, oh, well, we'll play some taps and say goodbye to it,
Yeah. And Nathan, were you as familiar with the film?
Until watching it again recently with you guys, I hadn't seen it. Well, watching it for this, I hadn't seen it for a very, very long time. So to be honest, I'd forgotten all about it.
Okay.
So it was like watching it fresh.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think I hadn't watched it in a long time. I had some sort of very good memories of it, watching it quite a few times a long time ago, but this is probably the first time I've watched it in at least a decade. It's quite a long time ago. So let's have a look at the cast and get into it. First of all, did you know the director? Had you seen his stuff before? Who was it?
Who's the
Chuck
director?
Russell?
Chuck Russell. His name is super familiar. And I don't
Any
know why it's-
relation to like Kurt Russell?
Are you looking
Terry
him up?
Russell.
Terry Russell?
He's a Russell.
She is.
He did the Blob. Oh, that's right. He actually directed The Mask.
He did the Blob remake.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I watched that not that long ago, and I don't think I'd seen it before, and it was really good.
I think I'd seen it, but like drunken seen it, and then fallen asleep
Right.
halfway through. I think I've seen
Every
it all.
once in a while, a moment was like, "Oh, that's familiar," but the film as a whole was not familiar.
Yeah. So he also directed The Mask and Eraser? Was that the one with... Yeah, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film?
Oh, really?
And
Wow, there's gaps between his movies then.
Vanessa Williams? Yeah. So he's directed some... I wonder if he's dead, because he hasn't directed anything for quite some time. It's quite sporadic. No, he's still alive.
It's just being lazy then.
Or picky.
Well,
He's very selective in terms of what movies he does.
Oh, do you know what it was?
Razor.
I've got 3 words for you as to why we don't hear from him anymore. The Scorpion King.
Oh.
Yeah. I think the Scorpion King might have killed his career.
I mean, there have been way worse films.
I don't think I've seen the Scorpion King all the way through.
If I did, I don't remember it.
I just remember bad CG.
But that's a shame because, like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is obviously quite a well-respected movie, and it's a pity he didn't use that to better his career, I suppose.
That said, it's probably well respected in the horror genre. So outside of that, probably less so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was going to say it launched Wes Craven's career, like where he had directed stuff before, but it sort of put him on the map.
Yeah,
true.
Again, that was just with horrors.
Genre,
yeah.
He stuck to what he was good at.
So Chuck Russell maybe could have had a long career if he stayed with horror. Maybe he didn't want to.
Yeah, he went...
Because there are elements of this that are a bit more cartoony and less horror. So maybe he was less comfortable in the horror sections.
True. So should we get into the cast? We've got my favourite is back again. Miss Heather Langenkamp as Nancy. Were you guys glad to see Nancy back?
I mean, I am, because I like her character and I had no problem with her. So, yeah, I am.
Nathan, how about you?
I
can't remember what you thought of.
A little bit of consistency and tie it back in with the original, but she's not a good actor. Not at all. Not by any stretch.
I think... I've made no secret of what I think of her acting abilities.
You're not wearing your "I Hate Nancy" t-shirt.
I know. I do have that. But I think she was more believable as a teenager. Now playing an adult, I think she's even worse. Like trying to interact with the male lead. I thought that was a bit cringy.
I didn't buy her as she was meant to be a doctor, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I didn't buy her as a doctor. If they brought her in as more like a youth counselor or something, I would have accepted her more in that role, I think.
Yeah. But even then, she'd fast-tracked a lot, apparently, in the last couple of years since the last movie as well, being off to like college and really excelled at what she does to come back as like a specialist type person.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
yes,
she didn't come across as a Doogie Howser type in the original film.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
The maths doesn't really add up. And, she wasn't doing that great in her English class. She kept screaming and falling over and stuff.
Exactly. How did she get through? The other brilliant actor, the other star that we have is Patricia Arquette as Kristen. Nathan, how did you think that the new leading final girl was compared to Heather?
Oh, she's fantastic. She's like just all the way through. She's got star power. I don't really know a lot about Patricia Arquette's background. Was this her first major movie, or she'd done other stuff before?
I think it was the first big movie.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was worthy, and she took that, she ran with it, and she did it really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you could see that she was going to have a career.
Yeah, definitely.
Like she added quite a lot of like believability to scenes that might not have worked with a lesser actress.
Yeah,
It was-
I mean, she played
it was her
vulnerable.
first
She
film.
could be strong and sort of a little bit unhinged, and no, she was very, very good and good screamer too,
She's a good screamer.
which is always important if you're going to be a final girl.
Oh, totally. I agree.
I'm not. I didn't see what you guys saw. I thought she was very wooden. I feel better now that it was her first film, and I did enjoy her in other things prior since then. But in this, I didn't think she was that good. I would agree that she was a good screamer. I think that was one of her best things that she brought to the role. But other than that, I thought she was very wooden, and the other Dream Warriors actually showed more promise and I'm surprised I haven't heard more from them than what Patricia Arquette. I think like being an Arquette obviously adds a lot of cachet to it. So I think sometimes maybe I don't know. I had always thought that she was a lot better than what she was. So seeing it now, I'm like, oh, I don't think she's that good.
So would you, if you were recasting, would you keep her in that lead role, or would you put one of the other two girls? Because there's two other girls, right? There's only two others.
So there was Jennifer Rubin as Taryn. I thought she was really good. So she was the drug addict. I thought she should have been cast as Kristen because I think she was showed a lot more range.
It was good.
Maybe that's why she went on to do Bad Dreams.
Oh yeah, she was a much better leading actress.
Yeah, I love that movie. It gets sort of forgotten in the Nightmare on Elm Street thing, but I really love it.
It kind of has a very similar sort of vein, doesn't it?
Except the end, like the twist at the end, makes the whole thing different. But yeah, it's similar, sort of working with dreams and things.
And then we've got Penelope Sudrow as Jennifer, the TV, the one who's going to be a famous actress.
Yeah.
I think she was good. I think she was good in her role. I don't know if she's leading lady material though.
Yeah, more supporting actor.
Yeah. How about you? Who are some of your standouts in the Dream Warrior cast? Like out of the Dream Warriors?
Philip's my favourite. I think he's got a lot of
was that votes for Philip? Philip's coming in. His PayPal's just come into your account.
Like a lot of charisma, in my opinion.
He did.
He worked. Yeah, and I wish he was on it more. To be honest, it kind of always irritated me that he was the first to go because
he was very 80s teen, like Corey mold, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like he could have easily been one of the Coreys.
Yeah, and then he did Stand By Me after that. So, before that, he did Stand By Me.
Okay.
So, like, he was in quite a few films that I loved. So I probably already had a
thing for it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I was already familiar with him, and so that was probably leaning towards me liking him more.
Yeah.
And sorry, Nathan. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I like Larry Fishburne.
I was going to say that was
Larry.
Larry.
He was billed like quite high, but he really didn't appear in the film that much.
No. Yeah, I wondered if they cut his role a bit, and that's why he had a higher billing, and then they cut bits out.
Or did they just sort of change the order of it and do like a re-release later as he got a bigger name?
Maybe.
No, I don't think they did.
No?
I'm pretty sure they didn't. I think it was always that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other lead actor was Craig Wasson as Neil Gordon, the sort of love interest. He was he didn't really make an impression. He was a bit wet, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, just a bit wishy-washy for me.
He was very direct to video.
Yeah.
Direct to video.
Beautiful or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I don't like the guy who plays Kinkade.
No. Ken Sagoes.
A little bit silly in some ways. I don't know. Didn't buy him.
No, I think he was quite wooden as well. Like his lines didn't really come out as believable.
No.
So this film was a lot more creative with its kills than what the second one was. It was sort of getting up there, probably, I don't know, as good as the first one, but getting close to it. Should we go through the killer kills?
Sure.
And see which ones we like the best. Sue, what about you? What was your favorite of the kills?
Well, even though I was bummed that he went first, Phillips was my favorite death because it looked hideous. Like, I thought the effects were really good. It looked like stuff coming out of his legs. Like, that looked like the inner workings of his leg.
So just to remind the viewers, that was when his sort of veins came out, and Freddy was using him like a marionette puppet, and then made him jump off the building.
I mean, I was watching that as well and just thought, well, that just feels gross. Just imagining being like, I mean, just being pulled apart, walked along like that, but with your insides on your outside, it's
like
pretty
that
nasty.
feeling of something pulling from the inside. Yeah, it's horrific to me.
And he looked in pain.
Yes, and I've assisted in quite a few surgeries, and that was quite. It looked real to me. That's what it would look like. So yeah, I thought that was really well done and kind of sad, like, because they all saw him and they were trying to save him, and so that one had the most impact for me.
Yeah,
I feel like Kinkade has some blood on his hands with that one. Like, I feel like he could have really stopped that from happening. But anyway, Nathan,
that pisses me off.
Nathan, what about you? What was one of your standout kills?
Well, that was actually my favorite one. It's for the same reasons, just because it looked painful. Everyone had to watch on, so it just seemed a lot more shocking and more impactful as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all got their own little moments. That was quite creative with the kills. This movie, definitely.
The TV one is one of sort of the ones that always sticks in my head, where Freddy comes out of the TV as like a kid that, you know, watched a lot of TV, a lot of late night TV. Freddy sort of morphing out of the TV and the antennas, and then his arms like grabbing her and pulling her into the TV. I thought that was for the 80s. Like, you can sort of see how it's done now. It probably would be a lot better with CG, but for a practical effect, I thought that was like quite a good death.
Yeah, or death by TV. I mean, to begin with, that's pretty cool and disturbing at the same time. But one of the things I really liked about this movie was the practical effects.
Yeah.
So if they were to do this again now, I think it would lose a lot of the charm and magic because they'd do a lot more CG, so it just wouldn't feel real.
I think with CG, a lot of the problem is that you have to suspend, you know, like, you have to buy into it because you know it's not real. I don't know, at least in practical, it kind of looks a lot more like they're interacting with it, like it's actually taking place. And I just don't think they're ever going to get past that, no matter how good CGI is.
Yeah. No. It kind of made me think of Jason and the Argonauts, sort of some of the stop motion that they did. Like, you can see like the craftsmanship on the screen. I don't know, we just take CG for granted these days. Whereas that, you can really see the imagination and the effort that it would go to do that.
I mean, that's the most famous death, the TV one. That's the one that they like make gifts out of and stuff. And like, that's the one that people talk about and quote and stuff. But interesting that, you know, the earlier one was the one that we liked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you're not going to make a gif out of someone doing this down the hall, I guess.
Yeah, it's less funny, the one that we liked. It was just more impactful,
true.
though.
Yeah. Should we talk about the other best bits of the film? So in the previous film, I mentioned how I hated the music, and it was just like whale music. In number one, you guys really loved the synth music. What did you think of the music in this one?
Wasn't we back to synth? Weren't we back to synth again, I think? Yeah, I love that.
It was kind of a mixture. It wasn't as synthy as the original one, but it did sort of incorporate... It did have that 80s sort of sound, incorporating a bit of the synth, but also having some sort of traditional sounding soundtrack as well. Plus, it also had the one of the best end credit songs.
Oh, yeah.
We are dream warriors. That's got to be one of my favorite things out of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, is the 80s singles that they tack onto the ends. It's like almost like a James Bond, like where they have to have like a theme track.
Like,
just imagine walking out of the cinema listening to that, like having that
bopping along
for the rest of the afternoon or night or drive home.
Right. What was that film called? dream warrior. Oh, that's right.
That's literally how I remember what this one's subtitle is.
See, practical and fun.
Yeah. What did you think of the ending with the mirrors and them dragging it from him?
I mean, well, okay. Well, that'll get into the bits that I want to change, but I guess generally I like the ending. I like that Nancy gets a proper death, and that she's mourned properly. I don't know about the whole backstory with the nun and all that sort of stuff, to be honest. I'm not entirely comfy with that backstory, but it worked. It ended well. And then, but you mean the little light turning on in the house or something? Like, it was still going.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like going back again to the first one where it's like a fake out of, is Freddy gone or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nathan, were you satisfied with the ending?
To be honest, I'm trying to remember the ending.
So that's a no?
I do remember mirrors, yeah. No, it was. I had no issue with it. But actually, it's what Sue mentioned about the callback to the nun, and we learn in this movie a lot more about Freddy's backstory. Isn't that just like what they talk about in movies like Scream? This is like the rule of the trilogies, where you learn something back from the original, like back before the first movie that you didn't know about before, and it just sort of changes things going forward. Because we never really, we knew a little bit about Freddy, but we didn't really understand like how he got his powers or why he was as bad as he is. So I thought that was interesting.
It's interesting, but it's problematic in the environment that we're in now. I don't remember having an issue with it back in the 80s, but now I think more about, that poor girl. And does that mean that everyone who has a child of rape is going to have some hideous monster? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was
not a child of rape, a child of 1,000 rapes in one night.
Yeah.
And we're calling them madmen. You know what I mean? Instead of, But it's like, but that was the 80s, and that's fine. And I'm not going to sort of.
But
it didn't stick quite as easily as it used to.
Yeah.
She seemed happy. Did we find out that that's the mum in this one? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
We did. Okay.
Yeah. The very,
spoiler alert.
Probably my favorite bits though would be when, at the beginning when Nancy, I like that whole sequence where Patricia Arquette brings Nancy into her dream, where Nancy falls back in her chair and falls straight through the chair, and she's in that room, and then you have the Freddy worm, which I thought looked really good. I liked all of that. That whole scene was really well done, I thought. Yeah,
the Freddy worm was really good. I thought that was good. Cool. So should we talk about
quite a few gross bits they did, like the bit where the nurse seduces the younger looking guy, Joey, and takes him off into another room and seduces him and get a little bit raunchy, and then suddenly she starts spitting tongues at him and tie him up and turns into Freddy.
That's the bit you liked, is it, Nathan?
No.
You don't remember anything else about the film, but you remember the lady that stripped down to her underpants and spat tongues at the guy.
That's all I wear under my nurse's uniform. For ease of, I might want to have sex with a patient. And that's really wrong with my job.
Sue is a vet nurse.
Very, very wrong.
But I thought that was really funny, that scene. I'm like, what part of his brain is thinking this is real? Come on, man. I'm like, I know you're thinking with your little head, but come on now.
That's one of the things I actually, not so much that scene specifically, but one of the things that I think the film does well, in that it captures dreams well. Because when you're in a dream, things don't really make a lot of sense. They just sort of roll and flow along, and you're in one situation and suddenly you're in a completely different scenario, and the people change, and it doesn't quite make sense, but it just felt genuinely nightmarish that way. I thought they captured that well.
Like where she would be in the hospital room, and she shut the door for the hospital room, and then you zoom back and she's at Freddy's house. That kind of thing. Yeah, where all of a sudden it's a whole different ball game without you even noticing.
Yeah, I think the director, while I did find some of his choices were a little questionable, I thought he was probably the most successful out of the three directors so far to convey that sort of dream feeling. I thought he did that really well.
What did you have more problems with?
Well, shall we talk about the things that we would do better if it were up to us?
That leads to.
Great segue, Sue. I kind of felt like he was a Wes Craven wannabe. Like, I think he'd studied the first film, because I think he managed to pick up a lot of the flavor and the feeling of the first film, which the second didn't really pick up on. So I thought that was really good. But part of it, like the overlighting, was one of the things that was part of the first one, and is a Wes Craven thing because that happens in Scream as well. So I can forgive that, but some of the choices just seemed a bit amateurish, like some of the camera angles. Like the thing that pops into my head was that scene where Kristen is holding that little girl and she's running along, and it looks like one of those dolls, like you can see like bobbing along. I think if he'd cut in a shot of the actual girl's face, he could have suspended disbelief that that was actually a doll.
It didn't look at all believable.
It didn't look believable.
No, and it's a shame because that whole opening sequence was great, but that clearly fake doll really does kind of mars it.
Yeah. And I don't remember it. I think I always remembered it being like as on the same par as Wes Craven. But this one, I think it just stood out as like a direct-to-DVD copy of what Wes Craven would do. So I think he's probably a good director, and obviously a better director than number 2. But when you're comparing it to Wes Craven, I think, he's not as polished.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah.
It's fair call.
Yeah, I did pick up on that beginning bit, so I do agree with you. What I didn't like, I think, is how quick the ending happened. Like, they all decide, let's get together and go into the dream together. But then the minute they arrive, they separate, which made the whole thing kind of silly. And then they got killed off like right away. Basically, like, oh, I'm a wizard. Everything's great. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like, come on. We just have 2 minutes in this world that they've created.
And Taryn was the same. Taryn was this great character with a great actress, and then he killed her off really quick. It's like, what a waste.
It was so wasteful, and it was a shame because we're there, we're invested, we've got this far. You don't have to quickly get rid of them so you can move to the next scene. That just seemed a little bit, like you said, like a young director that just wants to prove himself. But
was this one of the first movies where they started getting like really creative with their kills? Like each character, their death basically tied in with their character, not just the situation that they have to be in. Like again, I'm not great with the names, but you had the junkie girl. Like you see her little arm holes, arm mouths, all like.
How do they go?
That stuff. But I thought that was good how each character got a tailor-made death, but they were more and more elaborate than the previous movies.
That is true.
One of the things that also picked up with, maybe it's the director's fault, was John Saxon as Nancy's dad. Like, I think he's a great actor. Like, he's, almost horror royalty. Like, he's been in that many horror films. He's a seasoned actor, but I thought he was terrible. Well, not terrible, but not great in this movie. And I thought like some of the choices with his character was probably down to the writing as well. But that was one of the things that I think could have been done a lot better.
Yeah, I remember I was watching this one. I was thinking, it's like, he's normally good, so why is he not good here? It's like, what's wrong? We know that he can do good.
It was a bit phoned in.
Yeah, it was phoned in.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, the thing that I would change would be to give Nancy acting lessons. She's basically speaking. Yeah, she just phones it in. It feels like she's just going through the motions, sitting there reading the lines, but she doesn't actually feel the moment. She's not living them.
But I feel like he had better chemistry with her, probably because they've done the film together, than when he was doing his adventures with the other guy, whose name I can't remember because he Neil. Yeah. When he had the scenes with Neil, I just felt like this isn't a good combo. They weren't bringing out the best in each other at all.
No.
And that whole scene of the whole burying the bones was ridiculous anyway. I mean, how big a grave are you like digging for a bag of bones?
Yeah, an old bag of bones.
Might have to bury a car in there, for Christ's sakes. What are we doing? Let's hurry it up now.
I look forward to. Well, I think I look forward to seeing A New Nightmare, because that's when Heather Langenkorp's comes back, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
want to see whether, with that period of time, whether she finally does get some acting lessons.
People love that movie. People love that film, and I only saw it the once, and I don't really remember liking it. So I'm curious to see what I would think of it now.
I think I've only seen it the once, maybe even with you guys in the cinema.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't think I
pretty
saw it in
sure.
cinema.
Huh?
I think I've seen all of them in the cinema since part 5.
Hmm.
Maybe even part 4. Definitely part 5 because I remember I won a competition.
Mm. So, was there anything else on your list of things that you would change if it were up to you?
No, not really. I like pretty much everything else. I just wanted them to spend a bit more time on the ending.
Mm-hmm. Nathan, what about you? Is there anything that you would change if you're in the director's chair?
Just read my notes. I probably wouldn't have adult Nancy calling her dad daddy. Bumped into him in the bar. That was a little bit weird. She's like, well, hang on, we're trying to take you serious as like a medical type professional specialist, and you still call your dad daddy.
I think that's a very un-Australian thing to do. I don't think Australians call their dads daddy at all.
No.
But it seems to
A
happen
little
more.
kids maybe, but not
Up to 5.
not teenagers.
No. Anything else,
No,
Nathan?
it's weird.
No,
But she
that's
just
it for
says
me.
mother,
Mother. Yeah, she always did, didn't she?
mother, and daddy.
So should we get into our final thoughts? Are you ready?
Sure.
Nathan, seeing as you're sort of more fresh-eyed to this, we probably have less of an idea what your thoughts are. So let's go with you first.
Yeah, no, overall, I really, really enjoyed it. Yes, I didn't remember seeing it for a long time ago. So yeah, I was watching it pretty much with fresh eyes. So I like the very 80s feel of it. I like the 80s CG or practical effects, I should say. I like the 80s cast, the synth, very much of its time. And again, I thought that they captured the idea of dreams or the spirit, the feel of dreams really quite good. That's the word I was looking for.
The field
So,
of dreams.
Overall, I liked it. Yeah.
So Nathan, do you give it a trash or a pash?
I would give it a pash. I think it's very good.
Nathan's forgotten how to run the show in 2022.
And then have a drink.
And Sue, how about you? What are your thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
I think from the beginning, for me, it harks back to part 1. Like, it even starts with that Edgar Allan Poe quote, which reminds me of how the first one had Shakespeare in it. Like, for me, there was so many tie-ins, and if I loved the first one, I certainly loved the third one. So I just think this is loads of fun with some really inventive kills and great practical effects. And I mean, you could be churlish and find faults easily if you wanted to, but why would I? It's so much fun. So great big pash for me.
Wow. And for me, well, I probably don't love it as much as I thought I would. I really had high hopes for this one, especially coming off the back of the second one. I still prefer the first one. I think the kills are better and the characters are better in the first one, but this one still is a great film. It's very enjoyable. I think if you're a horror fan, obviously you are watching this, you would find a lot of enjoyment from it. So yeah, give Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors a go. I'm going to give it a pash.
Pash all round.
Pash, pashity pash. So that brings to an end our current Nightmare on Elm Street trilogy. So I hope you've followed along and watched that with us. Welcome to 2022. Make sure that you join us every other Thursday. Like, subscribe, and follow on YouTube. You can check us out on Facebook under Horror Movie Freaks. Look us up on Twitter with Horror Movie, or follow us on Instagram with the Horror Movie Freaks. I see that Sue and Nathan, you've been quite active on Instagram, posting some reviews and stuff on there.
Yeah, good to keep up with the reviews, I think. And then I like the short form because most of my reviews are blah, 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 blah. I have a lot to say, generally.
That's it. And obviously, follow us as well. You would have seen our handles on our end reviews there. Sue and Nathan do post probably more content than what I do, so feel free to follow them. Nathan will be sure to flash his decolletage at every occasion. So that, like I said, brings an end to the show. But join us. We're going to be doing a special Scream review. So the not original Scream, as we've already done that, but the 2022 Scream, otherwise known as Scream 5. So we'll be putting that online on Saturday. So yeah, like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when that comes live. But until then, thank you so much, freaks, for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Bye, Nathan and Sue.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.